Now, the practice of public relations, there are more than 7,000 firms in the U.S., and since the 80s it has, and some of you here are within that, in that major and within that track, and so it's growing and growing. There is the Public Relations Society of America. It does have over 11,000 members, has over 300 chapters at colleges and universities, the PRSSA. So it is a very growing field that has grown in leaps and bounds over the years. Now, one of the main movements and philosophies of the PRSA is public relations helps an organization and its public adapt mutually to each other, and it can very much so. We still need public relations. Lots of companies still need what's going on out there, how they can connect to the public, and it's all an important aspect of their business and how they relate to the public. And then in turn, they can, and besides their business or whatever their service or whatever they're doing, how they relate within the company and how they become part of that community. And public relations is part of that. They want people to know what they're doing and that they're there, and sometimes they want to be part of that community and interact with the community, almost a family type, community-esque feeling. Now, there's a couple of different approaches, and there's been some popular public relations agencies, Burson Marsteller and Hill and Knowlton. They would have major in-house staffs, and they are used by many companies and organizations. And if you look on page 393, you see a whole load of some of the top agencies going back a few years, firms in the world, and you're talking about lots and lots of money. I mean, Edelman was the top one for that year, and it is its own firm. It's headquartered in Chicago, made out $847 million. So this is lots of money going on around. It's $27 billion industry. Hundreds of offices with some of the biggest companies, PR companies in the world. Now, public relations is a little different from advertising. Basically, advertising is dealing with a certain product or a certain company, more a certain company product being out, or a certain company, and promoting that company for their specific products or services. Public relations is more dealing with an overall feeling of that company, of things that might happen with that company, promoting. Yeah, sometimes they'll have events that promote releases of certain things, but it doesn't deal with the specific commercials themselves. So though it's similar to advertising, it is not exactly alike. Especially when you're talking about PR. PR deals with a lot of different things, including publicity, communication, public affairs, dealing with the government, making sure financial public relations are good, community relations, social networking. So there's lots of jobs that the public relations departments deal with. All right, there's a couple of different things you should probably know. How to formulate the message and convey the message. These are two important aspects of what public relations does. Part of formulating the message, they have to know this through research. All right, they're not really sure how well certain campaigns work, so they have to throw stuff out there to see what people are thinking. They could be doing these campaigns and they might not get any feedback about them. If they do, if so, they do, and unless it was really bad, and people start complaining because most people don't really realize. They don't understand. They don't realize. So they just have to throw stuff out there and do research. And part of that research is through surveys, through focus groups, and now with social media, there's so many different things they can just throw out there, and people don't even know they're necessarily might be taking part in some public relations um, research operation because it's there. How many things do pop up in your social media all the time? People just go on it and they can design in a way just to get information. So it's they find that so they have to find out what works, what doesn't work to help them formulate what it is, formulate the message. How do they form that message next time? What works, what doesn't work, and that's what that research is important. And that research helps them create those messages. It also helps them find new clients because then they have actual hard research to show them when they're trying to bring in possible new clients about, oh well, we should going by this research, we find this much, and this is how this could help your group or your person or whoever it might be. And then another important aspect is conveying the message. How are you getting those messages out there? Press releases, that's the most basic. They are used all the time. They will always be used. It could be simply a press release letter put out there, and just people use that. It's very basic, and it's something I'm sure some people in this room have started to learn how to write a press release. By the time you're done, you will know how to do a decent enough press release and to get a job. So that's the main first one. Basically just an announcement, kind of like news, but not quite because you're promoting whatever that company or whatever they're doing is. So there's a little bit of journalism of training needed for that because a lot of times it's a press release, so you're dealing with the press, so you want to have some sort of organization for that. Video news releases, I've dealt with many of those in my time. Used to get them all the time, and usually they're not very long. Sometimes they actually look like little news packages, like I'm used to doing, but you can definitely see the promotional types of videos. To promote their company or whatever the thing it is that's being promoted. And then they are released constantly. So it does help. From a standpoint of the media companies do like that from a standpoint that they're getting video from a source, and they don't have to put somebody out there and they're getting video, and they like it because they don't have to supply the shooter or the editor or anything like that. Now they may not necessarily use that VNR in the way that the company's hoping they use it. They might use it for just B-roll or sound bites or something like that, but it gives them actual video that they're allowed to use because it is a video news release. The company wants you to use it. And it gives them more content to use. So if they need some video for that company, they don't have to worry about shooting it. So, but most of the time we don't use it in the way they expect us to use it. We use it for our own reasons and for our own things, and won't necessarily use exactly every message they put in there on that. And now you've got so many online options with social media these days. They're just constantly popping up, and it was a whole new ball game when the internet and especially social media popped up. It's just exploded, a whole other universe specifically designed for online options. And then you also have things such as public service announcements that also deal with that. They have talked about those. The public service announcements are more for commercials to promote certain things from it could be safety, or it could be maybe they're aligned with some campaign that goes more towards the public good. But that's another aspect that they use too. So what are we looking at here? We are looking at kind of how it's organized and what they're doing there, like media relations. This is where you're dealing specifically with the media itself. The whole other side of public relations. Because yeah, you're dealing with the public, but the media is a little different. Like I said, there's always been kind of a adversarial relationship between the two, and that's why a lot of people who are in the media will sometimes get jobs in media relations because they know exactly what the job is as the journalist, what questions they're going to ask, how they're going to attack it, how that station's going to look at it, and what strategy they're going to use. So you'll find a lot of people who worked in television, especially from a standpoint of in front of the camera. I've noticed a lot of people in front of the camera sometimes go into media relations. They might not be the biggest names that you may have heard of, but they've had some on-air experience in the past, and that experience and that notoriety will sometimes make inspire a PR firm to hire them because they've got that name, and people might know that. I've worked with a few people who've been on air and done that, but it's a way to deal with the media in a way, to communicate in a way they know best works with the media, with the media relations people. Now sometimes they have special events that go on for their company or for their organization or for their client, and it's usually for publicity. It could be release of something or a new product or a new movie if it's an actor or if it's a new whatever. So they'll go through all the planning of that to promote a product or whatever the person. That's one of the things jobs do, and that's to to raise the client's profile. Sometimes what they call a pseudo event, and the pseudo making almost like fake. Why it was created for the whole point of gaining coverage in the media. It might not have been that big a actual deal, but they've promoted to such a point. Hey, we got to send them out. We got to send someone out to get this. Other times they'll promote the heck out of it. So hey, media, maybe we should get some coverage of that. So that's why it's called a pseudo event. And this is also where you start seeing going on the media and talk shows and radio shows and TV talk shows to go and promote certain things. That's why you see them making the rounds. It could be books, it could be movies, it could be any number of things, it could be products. That's where you find that. There's also a couple of different aspects of public relations, community relations, people who specifically deal with in creating events to work within the community. This is where you get lots of swag. It could be like drink cozies or hats, or if the company has a like a spot some cuddly mascot. This is where you'll see that being handed out because they understand the importance of community involvement. If your company is in there, this is talking about companies in general, that you are part of that community thread, and part of being that community thread is sometimes sponsoring events in the area for that local community because you want to become part of ingrained into the culture of that community. It's important to put that out there. So you have a good relationship with them, so they think highly of you. So you'll see, that's why you'll see lots of things sponsored. It could be chicken barbecues or concerts or community theater or stuff like that. Why they also do sponsorships. local orchestras and community orchestras and stuff. So that's why they do that kind of stuff. That's part of it. And then events that could be going on as well, parades, picnics, 4th of July celebrations. That's where community relations comes into account. Then you also have consumer relations. This is where you are told, hey, you have to pay more attention to the people that are buying the things that you're buying. We have to make sure they're happy with what we do, because not everything we put out is always a wonderful product. So it's our job to make sure people like that better, or we can at least soften the blow of maybe it's not such a great product. And this is also where you find out you want to make sure people feel comfortable with your product or your service, and there's certain safety guarantees there, and also to make sure that every time someone calls, every time someone emails or texts or whatever the form of communication coming in from the outside world is being answered quickly, because if you're not, and you don't, because you need to hire those people, because if it just piles up, then people get annoyed and they start thinking badly. So you have to have those people skills to be able to deal with those people who are buying your product or service. You want to keep them happy, and sometimes people will contact you, and you have to be able to put the best foot forward as part of that.